Hello, ladies and gentlemen, back again, and what we're gonna see here is that apparently there is a whistleblower out that's specifically saying that the Twitter has been lying about bots and stuff like that. So and it's pretty crazy. Let's take a look at this article. I know, guys. It's from CNN, alright? There's not a lot of people really talking about it, and I kind of want to get this news out. I'll update it if there's any other backlog or whatever, because, that's what we have to do here at JM Reports. But it goes on to say, ex-Twitter exec blows the whistle alleging reckless and negligent cybersecurity policies. Twitter has major security problems that pose a threat to its own users' personal information, to company shareholders, to national security, and to democracy, according to an explosive whistleblower disclosure obtained exclusively by CNN and the Washington Post. Both are not credible, by the way. The disclosure sent last month to Congress and federal agencies paints a picture of a chaotic and reckless environment in a mismanaged company that allows too many of its staff access to the platform's central controls and most sensitive information without adequate oversight. It also alleges that some of the company's senior-most executives have been trying to cover up Twitter's serious vulnerabilities that one or more current employees may be working for an intelligence service. The whistleblower, who has agreed to publicly identify as Peter Mudge Zatko, who was previously the company's head of security, reporting directly to the CEO, Zatko further alleges that Twitter's leadership has misled its own board and government regulators about security vulnerabilities, including some that could allegedly open the door to foreign spying or manipulation, hacking, and disinformation campaigns. The whistleblower also alleges Twitter does not reliably delete user data after they cancel their accounts. In some cases, because the company has lost track of the information, that it has misled regulators about whether it deletes the data as it's required to do so. The whistleblower also says Twitter executives don't have the resource to fully understand the true number of bots on the platform, and were not motivated to. Bots have recently become central to Elon Musk's attempts to back out of a $44 billion deal to buy the company, although Twitter denies Musk's claims. Zatko was fired by Twitter in January for what the company claims was poor performance. According to Zatko, his public whistleblowing comes after he attempted to flag the security lapses to Twitter's board and to help Twitter fix years of technical shortcomings and alleged non-compliance with an earlier privacy agreement with the Federal Trade Commission. Zatko is being represented by whistleblower AD, the same group that represented Facebook whistleblower Francis Hogan. John Tai, founder of whistleblower AID. Why am I saying AD? What's wrong with me? AID, by whistleblower AID, the same group that represented Facebook whistleblower Francis Hogan. John Tai, founder of whistleblower AID, and Zatko's lawyer told CNN that Zatko has not been in contact with Musk, and said Zatko began the whistleblower process before there was any indication of Musk's involvement with Twitter. After this article was initially published, Alex Sparrow, an attorney for Musk, told CNN, "We have already issued a subpoena for Mr. Zatko, and we found his exit and that other key employees curious in light of what we've been finding." Here's my thing about this, is that I really want Musk to take over Twitter because of the fact that we need to be able to combat the media. And we need to be able to combat the actual elections, because without being able to do so, we're kind of fucked up about this, right? We're kind of screwed. And not really, I wouldn't say screwed. Screwed's not the correct way. It's just it'd be harder to get information out there, and Twitter obviously put out a statement to where they're going to, censor stuff and et cetera, et cetera. So, Elon Musk taking over Twitter and be able to combat this type of thing is a pretty big deal, in my opinion, because we need to be able to stop it at the source. And the only way we want to stop it at the source is, well, if we obviously, have ways to combat it. And Elon Musk, we really need him to win, so he can change the actual structure of the way Twitter is run and be able to have a better election. In a statement, a Twitter spokesperson told CNN that security and privacy are both long-time priorities for the company. Twitter also said the company provides clear tools for users to control privacy, ad targeting, and data sharing, and added that it has created internal workflows to ensure users that know that when they cancel their accounts, Twitter will deactivate the account and start a deletion process. Twitter declined to say whether it typically completes the process. Mr. Zatko was fired from his senior executive role at Twitter in January 2022 for effective leadership and poor performance, the Twitter spokesperson said. what we've seen so far is a false narrative about Twitter and our privacy and data security practices that is riddled with inconsistencies, inaccuracies, and lacks important context. Mr. Zacco's allegations and opportunistic timing appear designed to capture attention and inflict harm on Twitter, its customers, and its shareholders. Security and privacy have long been company-wide priorities at Twitter and will continue to be. Some of Zacco's most damning claims spring from his apparently tense relationship with Parag Agrawal, the company's former chief technology officer, who was made CEO after Jack Dorsey stepped down last November. My apologies. According to this disclosure, Agrawal and his lieutenants repeatedly discouraged Zacco from providing a full accounting of Twitter security problems to the company's board of directors. The company's executive team allegedly instructed Zacco to provide an oral report of his initial findings on the company's security condition to the board rather than a detailed written account, ordered Zacco to knowingly present cherry-picked and misrepresented data to create the false perception of progress on urgent cybersecurity issues, and went behind Zacco's back to have a third-party consulting firm's report scrubbed to hide the true extent of the company's problems. Obviously, we're going to take things that CNN says with a grain of salt, right? So, be as it may, we take everything what CNN has to say with a grain of salt. But if this does happen to be true, then this does not spell good for Twitter whatsoever. Even if Elon Musk does when it doesn't reacquire the business, it doesn't really look that Twitter is really being in good terms here, and they're having a huge amount of problem. And of course, Dorsey was another part of this. The Dorsey is generally much kinder to Dorsey, who hired Zacco, and whom Zacco believes wanted to see the problems within the company fixed. But it does depict him as extremely disengaged in his final months leading Twitter, so much so that some senior staff even considered the possibility he was sick. CNN has reached out to Dorsey for comment. A person familiar with Zacco's tenure at Twitter told CNN the company investigated several claims he brought forward around the time he was fired, and ultimately found an unpersuasive. The person added that Zacco at times lacked understanding of Twitter's FTC obligations. Zacco believes his firing was in retaliation for sounding the alarm about this company's security problems. The scathing disclosure, which totals around 200 pages, including supporting exhibits, was sent last month to a number of U.S. government agencies and congressional committees, including the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Federal Trade Commission, and Department of Justice. The existence and details of the disclosure have not previously been reported. CNN obtained a copy of the disclosure from a senior Democratic aide on Capitol Hill. The SEC, DOJ, and the FCC declined to comment. The Senate Intelligence Committee, which received a copy of the report, is taking the disclosure seriously and is setting a meeting to discuss the allegations, according to Rachel Cohen, a committee spokesperson. Senate Dick Durbin, who chairs the Senate Judiciary Committee and also received the report, vowed to investigate and take further steps as needed to get to the bottom of these allegations. It says the claims received from a Twitter whistleblower raised serious national security concerns, which we're not too surprised by this. We already know that Twitter has been very much compromised for the most part, and we know that they use bots. It's just being 100% confirmed now, and we also know that Twitter is very biased towards people, and that they're allowed technically child grabber type of stuff onto their platform. So this is not really much of an issue. We need a new person to come in, sweep and clean it up, or completely disparage it as completely, because the Twitter in general is just sick in itself. Take a tech platform that collects massive amounts of user data, combine it with that appears to be an incredibly weak security infrastructure, and infuse it with foreign state actors with an agenda, and you've got a recipe for disaster, Graysley said. I 100% agree, and that's the reason why Twitter's a hellhole. The claims I received from a Twitter whistleblower raised serious national security concerns, as well as privacy issues, and they must be investigated further. The FCC should investigate the claims and impose fines and individual liability on specific Twitter executives if a pro finds they were responsible for security lapses. Saying Richard Blumenthal wrote to the agency in a letter on Tuesday obtained by CNN. The letter by Blumenthal, who chairs the Senate subcommittee on consumer protection, highlights the pressure Twitter now faces from Washington as a result of the disclosure. If the commission does not vigorously oversee and enforce its orders, they will not be taken seriously, and these dangerous brand breaches will continue. Blumenthal wrote, Zacco may be eligible for a monetary award from the U.S. government as a result of his whistleblower activities, original, timely, and credible information that leads to a successful enforcement action by the SEC, and can earn whistleblowers up to a 30% cut of agency fines related to the action if the penalties amount to more than $1 million, as the SEC has said. I don't know why I'm messing up today. I apologize, my humans. The SEC has awarded more than $1 billion to nearly 300 whistleblowers since 2012. My God. Ty told CNN that Zacco had filed his disclosure to the SEC to help the agency enforce the laws and to gain federal whistleblower protections. The prospect of award was not a factor in Mudge's decision, and in fact, he didn't even know about the reward program when he decided to become a lawful whistleblower. The whistleblower. This goes on for quite a while, and all this stuff here. I'll also put this in here. So, what they're saying is that there's foreign threats and that there's a lot of stuff going on and all this. And we see here is that in this particular email, which we'll upload this up, by the way. Thanks for setting this prog, and thank you for the private concern. And I would not have brought it up if I did not think that it was important. The response to the audit investigation in Ahmed led me to believe I was right to bring it up. I was a bit surprised by your statement that you have been waiting over a month for a corrected document from me. My personal meeting notes and timeline shows that in December, on a phone call with you on the topic of redacted the materials and the upcoming risk committee meeting, I offered to create a corrected document for the committee, and you instructed me not to pursue this path. I was instead told to forward redacted documents and have redacted present, attempt to police the meeting and deal with redacted document as best I could in the closed session. 1 week ago, Marianne and I redacted. I am confused as to where your statement in front of Omid that you have been waiting on me for this over a month came from. My apologies for any misunderstandings. If you could point me to where you requested this earlier, I would like to figure out how to avoid such misunderstandings in the future. In the future, it would be great to have more than a few hours of notice for a meeting with board members to allow me to gather all appropriate materials and ensure I can provide pre-reads for attendees and yourself. I know that sometimes short notice meetings are just a thing. Kindness. Mudge ago. Mudge, I have time with Omid at 2 Pacific today, and given concerns you have raised, I think it's very important to use this as time to speak directly with Omid and provide him your perspective and all details around the last risk committee meeting, so he and the committee can be best informed. So that's pretty much what's going on. But yeah, we're not really too surprised by this. Hopefully we can get some. Elon Musk can do something about this and really win his lawsuit, but I also want him to take over Twitter because I think it'd be a huge, kind of like a huge win for us to be able to combat the far left and the liberal people, so that way we can have at least some type of fair election, at least on one platform, rather than not having unfair elections on multiple others. So that being said, let's see what happens. That's it for the video, guys. Like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.